Hi, this is Dave from GetWireless, and if you're thinking of implementing an IoT solution or system, I'm here to give you some points on following a good process that will help ensure the success that you're hoping for. One of the first things you would need to do when considering doing an IoT system is actually not thinking about the system itself too much initially. What you'd really want to do is look at your own company or your own group and do what's called an IoT Readiness Assessment. Look at company processes, systems in IT and operational technology, OT sides, and talk with product stakeholders, product managers, and of course your executive sponsors. Make sure that you're actually ready to have a system like that in your company. One of the big reasons that systems fail is not because people aren't working hard or the technology doesn't work, but it's because their actual company was not quite ready to have this system in place. Once you finish your IoT Readiness Assessment, you're ready to decide on what you're going to do. That's usually pretty straightforward. There are a lot of different reasons for IoT systems. Cost reductions, performance improvements, efficiency improvements, could be regulatory compliance, could be offering new types of products to customers. Maybe an as-a-service model has been adopted at your company. Whichever, you're going to have a reason for doing the system. So the first thing you're going to do is create a business model. Your business model is going to capture all the relevant information that you need to be able to architect and deploy and manage the system. The business model should capture things like the costs and the time frames of how you're going to do this. It should also capture and enumerate the benefits that it's going to give to the company. All of these numbers and metrics are going to be important throughout the process because they're going to tell you such really basic things like, when are you done? Is it working properly? Was it worthwhile? Did we achieve what we set out to achieve? All those questions are going to be answered as part of your business model. Once you finish your business model, you should move into an architecture phase where you're actually going to design the solution. Now remember, this is an IoT system, so most of what it does is going to turn data into value. And so it's going to involve things such as technologies, systems, people, platforms, locations, physical locations. So you're going to need to call these out in your architectural plan. What technologies are you going to use? For example, is this going to be a wireless system? Is it going to be cellular or is it going to be LP-WAN? But also it's going to call out how you're going to acquire data, move the data, secure the data, share the data, and also take into consideration such things as privacy and any other regulatory concerns around the data, such as HIPAA, things like that. So now you have this architectural plan. You're ready to deploy it. You'd think that deploying would be easy because now you've gone through your business model, you've gone through your architectural plan, and you know exactly what you're going to do. And that's generally true, except that deployment has its own set of issues. You're going to need to make sure that you work with suppliers and that you can have components and parts that are usually physical and usually installed in different locations. Pre-deployed, you have activation, provisioning, configuration considerations to take in mind. Installers themselves, generally there's some training that's going to be involved, so you'll have to get that done as well. And of course your timeline for deployment needs to match up with the timeline outlined in your business plan. So once you've done all of that and you have your system deployed, you're still not done because now you're actually going to use the system for what it was intended to be used for and actually achieve the goals that you set out to achieve with your business model. And that's called operating the system. Usually right at the beginning, when the system is brought up, you need to verify that it actually works, of course, but then you need to usually tune it so that it achieves the operational metrics, or at least the initial operational metrics that you've targeted in your business plan. Often when that is completed, there's usually a handover to a different internal group, usually in an OT form, operational technology group within a company, and they actually will run the system for you. Now, running that system can be fairly straightforward, but it also has some pitfalls. So for example, many IoT systems are designed from the beginning to have improved capabilities, capacities, features over time. And those are achieved through pushing out new software to end devices and gateways and things like that. Those firmware updates over the air are important, but they're also critical. And you have to trade those off with such things as battery lifetime on an endpoint versus how often you update the software. So operational technology is going to achieve your business goals for you, but it needs to be carefully monitored so that you can have your business plan work out the way you expected it. Then the last thing that you're going to do is you're actually going to have to de-deploy or bring back the system. These systems often have operational lifetimes. That lifetime should be called out in your business plan. So as part of lifecycle management, at some point, this system is going to reach the end of when you intended to use it. And so you're often going to be tasked with coming up with a new system. Most companies don't take their old system and say, okay, it's done, it did what we expected, and now we're going to take it down and we're going to go back to the way we were. That usually doesn't happen. What usually happens is the company will say, okay, we have a new baseline of performance, we're going to create a new system that's going to build upon that baseline to achieve even more things. That's great. But what that means, though, is that these systems that have been deployed and operational are now going to need to transition to new ones. That means you need to maintain the old system for a period of time while a new system is being brought up and make sure they don't interfere with each other. Now, you've seen this all along if you have anything to do with the cellular world. We've gone from 2G to 3G, 4G, and now we're going into 5G. And at each one of these transitions, you had old systems operating in parallel with new systems. One was ramping down, being brought offline, the other was ramping up. An example is, 3G systems in the United States are going to be taken down soon, and so they won't be operating anymore. Considerations at this phase are such things as having transition hardware and software in place so that you can maintain a dual operation during the transition period. Also, though, a plan for recapturing the old hardware. In today's modern age of environmental consideration, it used to be that old hardware would just be left out in the field. And that's not very environmentally friendly. So nowadays what you do is you actually retrieve that hardware and it's recycled. So you need to have a plan for that. So with all these things, bringing down the system isn't as easy as just somebody turning off the switch and going home for the night. So to recap, if you're going to be doing an IoT system, a process that will help ensure your success starts with an IoT Readiness Assessment for your company. Then you'll move into a business plan development, which will drive your architectural design, and then you go ahead and deploy that system. And if you get that far, then you're going to operate the system for the lifetime of the business plan, and then you're going to take down the system and transition to a new one.